don't think Doty's really spoken out. Levis has. I mean, but there's more there. I think there's more behind the Kristen Doty stone because we saw the spitting on the door. We heard about all this. She implied this at the time. She alludes to it. She says it, but I think Kristen, who doesn't hold back, and what have I done to you? Bring me a Pinot Grigio and suck a dick, and all this drama with Kristen, and she's sleeping with Jax, and fighting back against Stassi. I mean, all of a sudden, I think there's more there with Kristen. I want to hear from Kristen. I don't believe it's just like finally. No, tell us more, girl. Come on. And are you trying to protect your job at the network? And I almost understand that now, Doty, but you're off the network and you were fired. Why didn't you speak? Why didn't you speak? It helps people to speak out. So I just think there's more there. But Doty posted finally. Rachel Leviss has spoken out and pointed to an episode of her podcast, Bad at Love. Shout out to Juliet Harris, her publicist. I loved my Juliet. Great publicist. She probably put that out there. Direct them back to the podcast, Juliet. You go, girl. Why not? No shade there. Do it. And so Rachel, in addition to that, has posted a lot of stuff on her Instagram talking about different types of abuse. It's not just physical abuse, mental abuse, and not even just relating to James, just like, that is part of what her Rachel Goes Rogue podcast was about. It was about helping people and, talking about it. So she details the different types of abuse, mental and physical, and, mental anguish. And she has made a statement. Rachel's statement says, the amount of times I convinced myself that the abuse I endured by James Kennedy Garogio, I mean, it's serious when we're using the real last name. Garogio was a misunderstanding. Oh, the amount of times I convinced myself that the abuse I endured by James Kennedy Garogio was a misunderstanding is sickening. Perhaps more disturbing was Rachel. Okay, we are aware. This is what Rachel's lawyers say. So she said it's sickening the amount of times I've suffered abuse at his hands. And I convinced myself, that it was a misunderstanding. Her lawyers are saying we're aware of James Kennedy's recent arrest for domestic violence. The news is unfortunately not surprising. Rachel's lawsuit describes insignificant detail in Mr. Kennedy's long history of erratic violent behavior and substance abuse. Rachel's counsel concluded. Just as troubling, however, is that NBC and Evolution, who have known about Mr. Kennedy's troubling behavior all along, have been engaged in a multi-year cover-up on his behalf. They too bear responsibility. I feel that is the smoking gun. That is so, I don't know much more, but so interesting to me that, yeah, I mean, this has been out there? Has NBC been covering up for James because it's James? And how deep does that go? Again, I said this on the show this morning. Listen to my show this morning. We had Dave Neal on from the Rush Hour podcast with Dave Neal. We touched upon this, but to me, it's like, could you imagine if they were filming? I mean, they were going to film Vanderpump Rules right now, season 12 with the OGs. They were going to have the 3 weeks with the OGs, and they were going to spin it off. And I'm using OG very loosely. Could you imagine if they were filming Vanderpump Rules now? Could you imagine, like, what would they do? I mean, they would stop production. They would pretend this didn't happen. Uh, Would they have had a show? Would they have had our 3 weeks is now 6 weeks? Would Lala and Sheeta secretly have been like, wow, we're secretly happy like we were with, oh, it's so shocking to say, isn't it? Like, we're all human beings. Imagine if they were filming, like, would they say, holy shit, we have something else here under the stone? And 3 weeks just became 6 weeks? Because, I mean, they would be filming presumably right now. If they weren't filming, would they then say, well, James can't be a part of the next season? Like, he is canceled now? I mean, this is pretty significant. I think that is interesting. If they were filming, I think they would have turned 3 weeks into much more. And if they weren't filming, I think James would have lost his job and wouldn't have been coming back, I think. So I find that interesting. Has Evolution seen things? I mean, I don't see how you could not. Then again, there's the rumor they knew about Scandal. So I think that's interesting. Of course, Rachel's lawyers are saying that. They're going to use that. Rachel also talked about a lot of this when she was on Bethany's podcast, our good friend Bethany Frankel. that basically well, Rachel said on Bethany's Frank Call that she thinks that she's always seen violence in James. And she too said, what is the deal with Doute? And basically also said, now she gets the Valley. I don't know about that. I mean, it wasn't like Kristen was fired and then right away we started the Valley. It was Kristen was fired and she was fired and Scandal happened. And go listen to my podcast chat with Jax because 2 years, 3 years before, whatever it was, Jax was trying to get a daddy daycare, Daddy Jax show off the ground in the Valley. Nobody wanted it. And then Scandal happened and everybody won. So I'll die on the hill of the Valley was greenlit because of Scandal. That's why Jax is back. Jax should thank Tom. Doesn't really matter. It is what it is. Welcome to Hollywood. But he was talking about this show for years and a long time before when no one wanted it. So there's that. So I disagree with Rachel here. I don't think she was rewarded for that because she was off for a really long time. I find Allie's statements the most confusing. Is PR involved? I don't know. By the way, Allie herself has not really confirmed this. She's made a statement, which we'll read. She's not really confirmed this. I mean, look, if you pick me up and you throw me to the ground, or you pick up someone in my inner circle, I would be making every statement against this man possible. I mean, at that point, to me, I wouldn't give a fuck about the network. I wouldn't give a fuck about my future, as far as a career. I would just be like, this person fucking picked me up and threw me to the goddamn ground. Here is my statement. Let me tell you exactly what happened. I would probably do it on this damn podcast. And I don't give a shit about Evolution, Bravo, Lisa fucking Vanderpump. That would be me if I was thrown to the goddamn ground in this world that we live in. I would say, I don't care about any statement or PR or anything. This monster threw me to the fucking ground. There you go. That's what I would say. So I find the fact that Allie herself has not said James did this. And we're going to read her vague at best answer, her statement, but that is not the same to me as saying this person did this. I wouldn't give a shit about politics, networks, statements, PR. I would be like, let me make this very clear for everyone out there that is going through something and suffering at the hands of anything domestic violence wise or abuse. This person did this to me, period. Let me be very clear about what they did. I would lay it out there. So I find that very interesting and strange that she has not said James did this to me. Also, that's where, to me, it's alleged. I think he did this. I do, but it's just so confusing that it's this vague. There is an amount of vagueness to this that I think should be cleared up. That's just me. Her statement says, thank you to everyone who has reached out with love and support and for checking in on me. I'm okay and taking the time I need right now. I deeply